What's going on, guys? UFC 306 Noche is in the books. Interesting card. Very interesting card. I'm actually working from home the next couple of days. I've been working nonstop, literally around the clock. Saturday, after the Noche fight, I went to bed at 4 o'clock in the morning because I had to get stuff ready for, our football product, the roster bully that we just launched, posting our team's content and stuff like that. So I have been literally nonstop between marketing, artwork, content, live streams, podcasts, you name it, I've been doing it. So I needed like a couple days just to work from home, decompress a little bit. That's why you see my kitchen behind me. So I did want to jump on here and talk about UFC Noche because it was a very interesting card. There's been a lot of mixed reviews about it that I do want to discuss. But I would be remiss if I did not bring up right out of the gate that we completely swept the main card. Not only did we sweep the main card, but we swept the main card and we got every single decision correct as far as how the outcome of the fight was going to end, except for one. And I said it in the live stream, which was interesting. I told my guys in a live stream, I said, look, I know a lot of people believe that because this is UFC Noche, it's a big card, everybody's going to try to show out. There's going to be a lot of, finishes. That's what everyone was expecting. I said, mark my words, there's not going to be nearly as many finishes as you think. And I was right. And there was actually one guy in our group that took that as gospel in the live stream, and he bet every main fight on the main car, every fight on the main card to go to decision plus 2,000, and he hit. So we had another week that we ended in the bonus. We're going to go over the main card fights. We'll go over a couple of the other fights too and what we thought of them. But I do want to go over them, go over the card in a whole, go over some of the reviews that I've seen on the internet, seen on Twitter and stuff, and see which side we agree on. But it was for me, I enjoyed it tremendously. I still say that the experience for the people watching on TV was pretty much the same. I mean, they did have some cool things. If you have really good creative perspective, if like you're sitting in or watching some of the things that they were doing, and you're like, well, I can only imagine being there. Like if you put yourself in that atmosphere, like for a minute, and you're like, wow, imagine being there. Then I could see where you would be like, wow, this really is something else. But if you're just watching on TV and in between fights, you're getting up, you're getting something to eat, you're going to the bathroom, and you're missing all that stuff, and you're not kind of enthralling yourself with what's going on, it was the same thing. It was a fight. The lighting was a little bit different. Obviously the commentating was all over the place, talking about it nonstop, so it was hard to kind of ignore it. But they did do some really, really interesting things. And like I said, I can only imagine being there type of moment. Another thing is it was supposed to be for Mexican Independence Day, and I question how many real true fans were there. You know what I mean? Like the prices of those tickets and stuff, were there really true fans there, or was it loaded with corporate suites and the elitists and the celebrities and stuff like that? And then you had your fans scattered around and stuff like that. It didn't seem like an event where your real, true, hardcore UFC fans would be able to go into that price point and really, appreciate it and really experience it. It was more of a corporate thing. There was corporate suites, and there was probably a lot of corporate suits there, and it was a little bit different. So I looked at that perspective too. Although they got a great experience, it would have been nice for the fans to be able to go in, because this originally was not supposed to be a pay-per-view card. I don't know if you guys know that. Originally, this was not supposed to be a pay-per-view card. It became a pay-per-view card when they put it in the Sphere. Dana White claims this is a one and done. I tend to believe him. I tend to believe this is a one and done. He mentioned something about it was a contract thing. That's why they're not doing it. Overall, I do think it was a success for the people that were there. For the people that were there, I think it was a success. From a fighting standpoint, was the card a success? I believe it was. I know there was a lot of people out there going, well, it's a decision, all these decisions. It's still fighting. If you really appreciate fighting and you really know fighting, you appreciated some of those fights that went to the cards. I mean, the Ribovics and Zelluber fight, why? Because there wasn't a finish in that fight? It wasn't a great fight? That was a fantastic fight. That was an amazing fight. That last round was like Hagler and Hearns, back in the day. That was an amazing fight. So, because it went to the cards, it wasn't a good fight. When Diego Lopes almost put uh, T City on Queer Street in the first round, and he ended up lasting the entire fight. That wasn't a good fight. The beating that Norma Dumont threw on Aldana, that wasn't fun to watch. Even though probably should have been stopped. That was a horrendous cut. Like, these people coming out saying, it wasn't a good card. It didn't live up to the hype. Like, it was just mind blowing to me. It was mind blowing to me. And one guy that really ticked me off, and this is what I mean about MMA media, why like they need to refresh MMA media. They need to refresh the people that are going to do these post pressers, because the questions they ask are just absurd. For instance, Kevin Lowe came out and he said to Dana White in his question, one of his questions were talking about Valentina Shevchenko and saying, well, Valentina did what she did to need to fight, but it kind of sucked the air out of the building. Like, what kind of question is that? The lady did exactly, and I hate to say it, for those of you that are a member of the Mad Lab MMA and you read that article that I wrote for that fight, and I don't say this often, but that was literally the exact blueprint that I said that she needed to do. The same thing with Merab. I said this, it was the exact blueprint, and I said when it comes to being the champion, getting your belt back, if you're fighting your way into the rankings, right? If you're fighting your way into the rankings, the UFC has to look at you and say, well, you're winning fights, but you're winning them by decision. Like, we're not going to give you, they did it to Bilal for a long time. They do it to a lot of fighters. If you're not exciting, they will find rhymes and reasons not to give you a title shot. But when you're in that position, fighting for a title, who cares? Who cares if you get a win? Who cares if you get a knockout? Who cares if it's boring? Who cares what kind of blueprint you use? You just need to win the belt. That's it. They can't do nothing after that. They can complain after that, but you got the belt. You're going to have to defend it now. They have no choice. They have to give you the top of the heap fights. They got to give you the money fights. Just go and win the belt. And that's exactly what I said for the Valentina fight. We're going to go through all that. And the Merab fight. And that's why they won the fight. They did what they needed to do to win the fight. She fought an absolutely perfect fight. So for Kevin Lowe to come out and say something like that, like, that's what I mean. The media needs to be refreshed. The guys ask the most ridiculous questions. Half of them don't even know what they're talking about. I know one press conference a couple weeks in the presser to Zellhuber, one of the guys said that he lost. He was on like a losing streak, and Zellhuber's like, "What are you talking about? I won my last fight." Like, these guys don't know. They're getting a little too old, or they're just not educated enough. And they're coming out and they're asking these just bizarre questions. She did exactly. Let's just start from the main event. Merab. I came out and I said that he was going to be the fighter fighting downhill, and that's exactly what he was. And O'Malley was going to be the fighter fighting uphill. He was going to be the one who had to really defend the takedowns and utilize his defense to get his offense going. And I said if he was able to get into space and if he was able to create some kind of a flow state, Merab would be in trouble. He wasn't able to do that. He wasn't able to really dial in what Merab was doing. He was all over the place, throwing good feints. He wasn't utilizing his normal outside, inside, single legs. He was going more for double legs that were timed perfectly. And O'Malley had no answer for it. He had 0-0. Where those scorecards came from, 48-47 and stuff like that, I have no idea. Thank God it wasn't that close, because if it was a closer fight than that, they probably would have gave it to O'Malley. But we picked Merab by decision. We were absolutely right about that. Next, the Valentina fight. Same rule applies. That was the number one component that I said in that fight that she needed to do if she wanted to have somewhat of a coasting win. I said she needs to put her grappling first. I said forget about it. We know you're an elite striker. We know you've been an elite striker your entire career. There's not many people that can stand and trade with you, but at 36 years old, you're going to lose a little bit of a step to a younger girl who is a supreme boxer with very fast and sharp hands. So what do? You take the path of least resistance. You take her down. You utilize your grossly underrated grappling, and you get position on her, and you just seal up minutes and seal up rounds. That's exactly what she did. She utilized her grappling first. She put her grappling first, and she normally doesn't do that. Now, mind you, she does have plenty of some. She does. If you look at her with her takedowns and stuff like that, she will utilize 4, 5, 6, as many as she needs to, but she doesn't usually put it first. This time, she actually put it first, and that's what won her this fight. Got put in some bad positions. She absolutely got put in some bad positions. There's one thing about her grappling I will say is as good as she is offensively with her entries and stuff like that, she does make mistakes. She does leave things open for you to capitalize on. And there was certain moments in time where Grasso was able to capitalize. For instance, that guillotine, I was a little bit nervous. I was a little nervous with that guillotine, and then finally she gave thumbs up as she started pitter-pattering on her side, and I knew she was okay, popped her head out, and she won. She destroyed her in that fight. Literally destroyed her in that fight. There was no point in time in that fight that if she would have kept to that game plan. After the first round, I said she just, as long as she don't get caught. She's doing exactly what we said she needed to do. Utilize the grappling first, because at the end of the day, Grasso is a boxer. She does have good grappling. She does have decent wrestling. She will be able to get herself out of bad positions. But at the end of the day, a boxer's always going to be a boxer. They want to stay on their feet. And Valentina did it perfectly. So I said there was going to be 2 new champions, and there absolutely was 2 new champions. Next one we're going to go to is the Diego Lopes fight and T-City. It was a fight that I picked Diego Lopes by decision. And the reason why I picked him by decision was because I knew that we were going to see this. I knew we were going to have a situation in round number 1 where he was going to rock T-City like T-City always gets rocked. And a situation would arise where if he led him back in the fight, we're not too sure, Diego Lopez's cardio. Like, how is he going to fare down the stretch where T-City just gets better? He tends to grow a beard, which is really, really weird. T-City tends to grow a beard as the fight goes on. It's like he needs to sweat, he needs to get hurt, he needs to get hit, he needs to be rocked. And then after he collects his legs back, then all of a sudden his chin grows, his beard grows. It happened. It literally happened. He got rocked, looked like he was dead to rights, and then all of a sudden he grew a chin, and Lopez wasn't really able to put him back on Queer Street like he did in round 1. 30-27, fine score. He did exactly what he needed to do. But when you're looking at all the people that pick T-City, like, I get it. I get it, because sometimes I get trapped in those legend plays as well. I get trapped in those legends plays as well. You think about T-City and, the people that he's fought. But when you look at momentum and you look at a guy like Lopez, with the momentum that this kid has, it's hard to deny that. Like, this kid's not a fluke. He's not a fluke. There are some guys out there that are flukes. They come in there, they'll be knocking dudes out. Like, I remember Ozdemir. Remember Ozdemir? He was coming in, he was knocking dudes out. Johnny Walker coming in, knocking dudes out. I can go on and on and on. And then all of a sudden they get exposed. This kid is the real deal. Like, this kid's got power. He's got very good grappling. He's in his debut. What he did with Evloev was still a feather in his cap. So I kind of had a hard time believing that T-City, with given all his mental issues and all his problems and everything that he's done, his wars that he was going to be able to go in there and he was really going to be knocked down a sturdy building in Lopez. So little surprised Lopez couldn't get him out of there in round 1. I thought for sure I did say this too. I said if he really rocks him in round 1, he's going to be able to do what Yair Rodriguez good, and he's going to go and he's going to finish him. And he rocked him literally in the beginning of the first round. I was like, oh, this fight's fucking over. And he wasn't able to get him out of there. So credit to T-City. He actually had some good spots in the fight himself. But just, you can't knock down that sturdy building like Lopez when he's on that momentum. He's the much fresher fighter, the younger fighter. He's hungry. You don't know how hungry T-City is. So I figured the intelligent pick was Lopez. Now, this is the fight where I will take a lot of credit for, because I don't know anybody that was on Zellhuber. I don't know anybody that was on Ribovics. Everybody I seen thought this was like the lock of the card. And like I said, this is just public spew. This is, people saying, well, he had this long reach advantage and it's in Mexican Independence Day, and they're putting him on the main card for a reason, and yada, yada, yada. And I just couldn't understand what they saw that made them so confident. I think Zellhuber is a fine fighter, and he impressed me even more in a loss. And I'm going to get into that now. He even impressed me more in a loss because he showed me something else in his game now that I can work with, when he fights next. But when people were sleeping on Ribovics over a 2-1 favorite, I was like, this is insane. Like, this guy is good. This guy's got hands, and he doesn't fight a range fight. He's not a fighter that's going to fight you in range. That's not how he fights. He is a George Foreman style fighter. He is a Jessica Andrade style fighter. He's moving forward. He's looking to get inside on you. He's looking to lay hands on you. He's looking to work the body. And yeah, while he's gonna eat 2 or 3 to land that one. That's all he needs is that one to put you on a rocking chair. And then I also looked at, well, Zeljuber's a guy who he's not looking to knock you out. Those 2 or 3 that are coming back at Ribovics, they're jabs. They're going to be jabs. They're going to be touch shots, keeping you at distance, throwing a couple kicks, maybe throw something, with a little violence in it to really back you up and say, if you come in close, like, I'm not only going to jab you to death, I am going to hit you with something big. So Zeljuber had a good game plan, but once Ribovics started finding the range, started understanding how to come in, I said, this is where he can catch him. He catches him with that one shot. We've seen Zeljuber rocked, and then he's going to put it on him. And that's exactly what he did. It was a very good fight, very close fight, but you gave this kid 15 minutes to find your chin, and he found it. Now, where did I gain respect for Zeljuber was his durability and his heart. He showed that like true Mexican heart and that true Mexican spirit. That fight could have been stopped. That absolutely could have been stopped. And they let it go. Just because you're going like this and if you think about it, think about this for a second. Now, I know there's a total different velocity and power with Poatan. But if you look at the fight that they stopped with, I believe it was with Izzy, when Izzy was like against the cage and he was going like this, and they stopped the fight. Why didn't they do that with Zeljuber? He was doing that nonstop. He was literally rocked. He fell down. He got up. He was just going like this, and they let the fight go. So that fight, to me, could have been stopped. I think they were giving him every opportunity. Mexican fighters on Mexican Independence Day weren't doing that great up to that point. And they let it go a little bit longer than they probably should have. But it turned out to be a great fight. So I gained so much respect for him because the kid showed that he's got a ridiculous chin. He's got ridiculous resolve. And he will fight until he's dead. I mean, that shows me that kid has real true grit. But how everybody was on him and nobody was on Ribovics was insane to me. I mean, it really was. So that was one of our bright spots. That was a guy that we picked. We picked him by decision. We hit a bet on him. So I'm really, really happy about that. And I'll be honest with you, after the first round, I was questioning it a little bit. I was like, he is getting inside on him. I was like, but Zeljuber seems like he's got the range down. This might be just 3 rounds of Zeljuber jabbing him to death. Then the second round, I saw he was getting in. He was hitting him with a couple body shots. He was getting underneath a little bit. And I said, all right, well, now we got 5 more minutes. We got like 5 more minutes now to really see if he takes that little bit of knowledge he got from the second round and brings it into the third. And that's what he did. So that was a great, great win by him. The next one was the Rodriguez and Osborne fight. This was the only fight that we got the fight right, but we didn't get the outcome right. I had Rodriguez by submission here. Very good fight. I mean, very good fight, fun fight. Osborne had his moments, obviously, right in the beginning. I have no idea how Rodriguez survived. There was one point in time where Osborne put him in a triangle. And when he released the triangle, it looked like Rodriguez was looking into a hole in the street. Like, he didn't move. He didn't back out. He didn't go in. He was just like, I honestly believe he was out. I do. I believe he was out for a minute. When he let go of that triangle, I think he was just slumped over, and he was out. And he woke up. I have no proof of that. That's hearsay on my end. But if you really, really watch that, when he lets go of that triangle, he doesn't back out or he doesn't go in. He's just sitting there, almost like he's looking at a hole in the street. I personally believe he was out. I do. I believe it was almost like a Matt Hughes moment where, if you remember, when Carlos Newton fought Matt Hughes, and Matt Hughes, ends up, he like knocked himself out for a minute with that triangle. And he was out. No, he was out with the triangle. And then he threw Carlos Newton to the ground, and woke up. And he didn't even realize he won the fight. Like, he got up and he was like, what's going on? They're like, you won the fight. Then he started acting it out. It was almost like a moment like that to me. But great win for Rodriguez. I still don't think he's that great of a fighter. But I do think that he once again, that Mexican pride, he shows that resolve. Dumas and Aldana, another fight that should have been stopped. I was actually on the wrong side of this one. I thought Aldana was going to be able to utilize her boxing, kind of bait her into a stand-up match, and I figured that if it stayed on the feet for 15 minutes, there was no way that, like, she'd be able to hang with somebody with the hands of Aldana. I was wrong. I was wrong. She did stay on the feet with her, and Aldana had no answer for her. It was Dumont that was really utilizing the jab very, very well. Like, she was utilizing it very, very well, keeping that range. She was dancing around. She looked extremely fluid in there. Literally chewed Aldana apart. And that just proved to me now, do I like Aldana still? Yeah, I do. Why? Because she's super tough. She's never going to quit. She had a gash on her head that I haven't seen in a long time. That fight, actually, I can't believe the doctor didn't come in and really check that a few times, because that probably could have been stopped as well. But as far as the evolution of her game, it's never going to evolve. I know that now. Like, we know that now. When you're training with guys like in the same room as guys like Diego Lopez and Alexa Grasso, where these people's games are evolving, and you're just still a heavy-footed boxer, that's it. It's over for you. It's over for you. You got good grappling. She's got good grappling, but she never uses it. And she just wants to stay on her feet with that high guard. So if you get somebody that's just going to stand and trade with her and have a jock measuring contest with her, that's fine. But as far as somebody who's well-rounded, who's going to look to take you down, who's going to look to grapple with you, who can be a little sharper, a little faster, it does look like she lost a bit of a step. She looked a little sloppy in her boxing. She was overreaching for everything, swinging and hitting air. That shouldn't be. Aldana's not the one who should have been swinging and hitting air. It should have been Dumont the one swinging and hitting air. It was Aldana. She was the one that was like taking these wild shots, and just missing, and just literally missing. So, little disappointed with that. I thought that Aldana would win that fight, but it was overall a good one. Bahamondes and Torres. What can you say about Bahamondes? You see, the thing with the Torres fight was this. When you looked at that fight, and if you really watched that fight, the biggest mistake that Torres made, and it's a mistake that a lot of young fighters make, right? A lot of fighters in general, but mostly young fighters. When you get rocked, and the poster board for this, the poster guy for this, the poster fighter for this is Cody Garbrandt. When you get rocked, we say it all the time, the last thing that you do is go and try to get it back. Like, that's the worst thing that you can do, because you're not coherent enough. You don't have your legs. You're not going to have any sharp targets. You're just on anger street at that point. You're like, I got to get it back. So you just go flailing your arms. Your head's not there. You're not thinking about defense, and you're just hoping something sticks. You're actually doing it. You're pursuing out of anger or pursuing out of desperation, because it's almost like, oh my God, I was rocked. I'm going to lose the fight. That's what Torres did. The minute he got rocked and got up and tried to get it back, I said in my Discord, and if you guys were in there, you'll know, I said he's going to get knocked out. He's trying to get it back. Like, you got to wake your legs up. You got to say, all right, look, he got me. That's it. He got me. Let me get back. Let me get back on my horse. I got to wake my legs up a little bit. Even if you got to do it for the entire round, just to stay safe and pick at him. You lost the round. Like, at that point in time, if you get knocked down, chances of you getting that round back is you really got to put it on that fighter, or you got to knock him down yourself. So the chances are, if you get knocked down in a round by a punch, you're going to lose the round, unless you're coming back and you're clipping him with something and you're evening out that playing field, or you're putting so much volume on him that it out-trumps him. So at that point in time, you're like, all right, I lost the round. Let me pick it up again in the next round. Let me wake my legs up. Let me correct. Let me adjust. I know what he did now, and I know what I got to do now. I tasted his power, and I don't like it. He went right back in, and he just tried to get it back, and he ended up getting knocked out. So, learning experience from Bahamondes, though, take nothing away from him. Guy's a sharpshooter, man. Guy is a sharpshooter. Bilal Muhammad warned a lot of people about this kid, and I like him. He's got nasty front kicks. He's got a good, works behind a good jab. He's big for the division. Not much not to like about this kid. So very, very impressed with him there. The Jags and Souza fight, what can you say? I mean, she's Andrade 2.0. This was one that I did get wrong. I didn't really put any juice on it, because her line was like minus 500, but she got caught. She ended up getting caught, and the way Souza jumped on that neck like this was super, super impressive. So at this point in time during the fights, Mexico was not doing that well. They were not doing that well. Charles and Van, another fight that went exactly the way we said it would go. I mean, this is a guy who I said, guarantee you he's losing round one. He always does. I seen a lot of people on Charez as a live dog. I understood it to a point, but then I didn't. Van is very, very good. He's very young. This is a kid who is, we're going to talk about the broadcast too. We got to talk about the broadcast. He's a little small for the division, so he doesn't have to cut a ton of weight. That's why when I was watching the broadcast, I was like, what are these guys talking about? They're like, Van's really big for the division. He's actually very small for the division. He does not have to cut weight. I'm going to tell you right now, the announcing is getting worse and worse and worse. And I love Cormier and I love Joe Rogan and obviously John Anik, but the announcing is getting very sloppy. There's some points in time where it's becoming very biased. There's some points in time where it's becoming very just like you could see they didn't do their homework, or they're trying to get the people at home in the TV to really think that something's happening when it's not. We're going to talk about that. Let's just finish going through the fight. So Charez came out. He won round one, knew that was going to happen. Then all of a sudden, Van comes back, starts finding his range, starts finding his body. The kid's, for such a young kid, he's so mentally wound together properly with working the head to the body and the head to the body. I mean, amazing. The kid is really, really, if this kid can really get a hardcore grappling game to even come close to where his knowledge and striking is, he's going to be very, very tough to beat. So super, super impressive with that fight. And then Rosa Jr. and Ori, I have nothing to say about that fight. I got nothing to say about that fight. It's actually a travesty that it went as long as it did. And, when you're talking about a kid like him where the UFC is obviously pushing and, the fans obviously love him because the UFC is pushing him, I'm waiting to fade this kid. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, how many more fighters are you going to give this kid that's minus 800? Look at Josh Van. He's coming in. He's only 22. It's not like he's 21, 22. It's not like he's this older fighter. He's jumping in on short notice against a monster like Charez. 2 days, whatever, for a week's notice, whatever it was, 4 days notice. He's coming in. He's fighting a guy like Charez. They're giving Rosa these fucking cab drivers. Literally, they're giving him cab drivers. And I don't, like, when are you going to give this kid a fighter where, let him even be minus 150 or even money or minus 120 give him somebody. You gave him one good fighter. You gave him C-Rod, and C-Rod beat him. Everybody else, they're minus 1,000, minus 800, minus 700. Give him somebody on C-Rod's level again. Why are you going to keep walking this kid? It's getting to the point now where it's like, all right, stop, enough. Like, you're bringing a fighter into the UFC. I don't care his age. It was your choice to bring him in, right? If you don't, this ain't a farm league. Like, this ain't a farm league, a developmental league. Like, if you bring him in, you obviously think he's ready. So if he's ready, you got to start giving this kid fights. Period. End. You got to start giving this kid legitimate fights and stop feeding him these cab drivers. As far as the commentating, I was highly disappointed with the commentating this time around, especially in the co-main event. In the co-main event when they were the Valentina fight, it was like everything was Grasso. Everything was Grasso. Every time she latched onto an arm or latched onto a neck, that's deep. This could be the end. There was never nothing about how seamless, Valentina's takedowns were, what a great game plan it was, how good, she was finding her spots when she was choosing to take her down. It was all Grasso. Even when Grasso was on her back, it was all, oh, look, it's a guillotine. Oh, that's deep, Joe, that's deep. Well, she just got to, oh, no, that's deep. Everything was Grasso. And it was like, if you didn't know what you were watching, like I was in the Discord, we were quoting them and laughing our asses off because it was like every time something happened, if you didn't know what you were watching, you would really believe that something was happening. Like they were giving her now it could have been because it was such a wash that they wanted you the viewer to stay in tuned, to think it was really closer than it was, which is possibly a tool that they do use. There's still 5 minutes left. She still has a chance. This and that. They're going to utilize things like that to keep you engaged. But the fact of the matter is like, I mean, how biased can you be? Like, you could clearly see there was a clear bias for Grasso in that fight. So I'm just I wish they would tone that down a little bit. Like, not every position you're in that's deep. Not every position she was in. Do you know how many times Joe Rogan said she's in real trouble here? She's in real trouble here, Daniel. She's in real trouble here. Why? Because she had an arm. Like, you did not see that she was hand fighting her. You didn't see that she was posturing up. Like, where was she in trouble? Just because you have the hold of somebody's wrist and you have your legs up top of it, doesn't mean you're in trouble. Like, talk about when she's in trouble if she's locked in. There was maybe one or two times where she actually was in a little bit of trouble, but it wasn't like on the edge of your couch going, "Oh my God, bro! Like this is locked in." And every time she did something, she was in trouble. She was in trouble. Oh, this is real trouble, Daniel. Oh, this is a bad position, Daniel. She just scoots on her hip. She's in trouble. So that I didn't like. But overall, I got to be honest with you. I really thoroughly enjoyed the card. From a combat sports, enthusiast to somebody who loves the Mexican culture, who grew up in boxing, who has nothing but admiration and respect for Mexican fighters. I truly believe Mexican fighters are some of the greatest of all time, especially in boxing. So I did really, really enjoy the whole culture and everything behind it. I personally really enjoyed it. I thought it was well worth the money. I really, really do. Would I go to the event to watch it for $3,000? No. I've been to way too many fights in my time. I don't need the whole Glimmer and the Sphere and all that other shit technology. I'm there to watch fights. That's just me. Would it be cool to be there and see that stuff? Yeah, but for $3,000? No, that's just not me. I've been to some of the biggest boxing fights. I mean, I've been to Holyfield Bowe. I've been to, like, back in Gaddy Mayweather, Gaddy Ward, Tyson fights. I've been to so many fights, big time fights, between UFC and boxing and bare knuckle. Like, I'm not there to see the screens and the flower petals fall. And it's cool. It's a great touch. And if it was maybe $500, yeah, I would go. Even maybe $1,000, I'd go. But some of these tickets were going for $3,000, $4,000, loaded up with elitists and corporate suites, and it's not my thing. I like to go to a fight. Like, I remember I went to a fight. I went to Galata Bow in Atlantic City with my father years ago. And you want to talk about, that was all fans. There was no corporate people there. There were no elitists there. There were no actors or actresses there. It was America and Poland on one side. It was like something from a Rocky movie. They were all hardcore boxing fans. That's what I like. Put me in an arena like that where you're getting all your hardcore. They were. I remember walking out. They were drunk, and we actually spent some time with Galata after the fight. He had a huge hole in his lip, and he just kept saying, "I stoop it," because it was the low blows. But I mean, you saw Polish people just drunk in the hallways. People dressed up with American flags, walking around drunk. Like, it was crazy. It was a crazy fight to be at. But you knew you were in the company of all real fans, like real boxing fans. So that's what I like. So the whole thing with the Sphere, I can take it or leave it. I thought it was great. I thought it was good publicity for them. I thought it was good publicity for the Sphere. And it was definitely different. So I had no issue with it. I thought it was a great night, opposed to what maybe you hear from other outlets. As far as our NFL product, guys, if you guys haven't gotten in, I don't know what you're waiting for, really. I mean, forget about the product itself, right? Where you're getting 15,000 words a week, breakdowns on all the fights. You're getting full DFS. You're getting full wagers. You're getting private podcasts. You're getting a live stream before the fight. Full DFS, everything, the charts and the hedge weights and stuff like that to get you whatever game you want to play, whether it's FanDuel or DraftKings. And then the most important thing, we have this community that just, there's no community like our community. I've been a part of many companies of these startups for fantasy sports, and I've had issues with majority of them. Who's yelling at who's getting booted from where, what owner is calling them dickheads, and who's getting into the fights. We have a zero tolerance. You come in, you got guys that have each other's phone numbers. Some of them have my phone number. They meet up, they go to PFL fights. We've met up in Vegas. Like, it really is just that alone, just the community alone is worth every cent. Not only that, but we're giving football away for free. I mean, we're giving football away for free. We had a week one last week where we had one of our guys, Johnny Mack, hit for 15 grand on $300. We had Mikey Marangelli, one of our content providers for the wagers, hit for over 7 units. You're getting all that for free. Plus, you're getting the roster bully tool that's only with us, which is a really cool tool because it's not something that you could load in to like DraftKings, but it's something that you can utilize to find certain plays. So, for instance, it's all baited by position. So you have quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, etc. And basically what this tool does is it gives you my projections as far as where I rank each position, down to like 25. I don't go all the way down the list. The guys that are sitting on the bench, I kind of zap them out. So just positions that I would really consider playing. And then I rank them in tier. And then what I also do is I give you a notation on the side of certain players, like start them, sit them, sneaky play, possible slate breaker, this and that. So you can go through every position, and it will just help you, even if it just helps you grab one or two guys for your slate. Like, he said he's a possible slate breaker. I'm going to take him. Or he's saying to sit this guy. I'm going to sit him. Or start this one. So I go in, and the obvious plays and stuff like that, obviously they don't have nothing next to their name. They're in the tier, but I go through the fine-tooth comb with players that I really have a gut feeling like this guy's going to have a big game. So you're getting that absolutely free, plus the Discord, plus all the wagers, plus that. I mean, it's honestly a no-brainer. No other company does it. No other company has a community like ours. If you don't want to be a social security number, or I highly advise you give us a chance. I really do. I highly advise you give us a chance. If you want to be a part of a community where you're looking forward to, get away with the guys and watch the fights on Discord and sweat the games and get to know each other. Everybody has a nickname. Everybody gets a nickname in there. I highly, highly advise you give us a try. And I guarantee you, between the knowledge that you're getting from the content of the site to the people in the site, you're not going to want to leave. Like, you're not going to want to leave. So definitely go check that out, themadlabmma.com. We will be glad and happy to have you over for us, especially if you're getting, like I said, for football season, it's Saturday and Sunday now. So we have Thursday, we're in there sweating. Saturday, we're sweating the fights. Sunday, we're sweating the games. Monday, we're sweating the game. So 4 days out of the week, we're in there hanging out, giving bets, doing this, doing that, and you're getting it for the price of MMA. I mean, it's not even, it shouldn't, if you guys are players, it shouldn't even be a question. So come check us out, and I will see you for the next breakdown.